it's you and me again.
It's you and me again.
Hello. I was thinking, well, I wanted to check in at least for a little while.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you? Happy Mother's Day.
Good. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Did they treat you all right?
It was good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We made breakfast. We went to church. We went over to JT's folks, just live about 25 minutes north of us. So we went there for a couple hours. Bleeding.
Oh, no. Why are you bleeding?
Okay. I was I don't know if I was picking on my face or something. Um Yeah, and they got me a massage that I'm gonna try to get scheduled before school's out.
Oh,
So
fantastic. That's a nice gift.
yeah, very much, very much. Did you hear from your kiddos today?
Yeah, well, my youngest daughter who lives with me brought home a wonderful it's an azalea plant, but the stems are sort of braided, so it's like a little tree because
Hmm,
she knows I like plants and such. And we had Indian food as takeout Indian food for dinner, my favorite.
love.
And that was really good, though the place was so busy, they forgot some of our stuff. I mean, they told us that they didn't have it. It's not that they forgot it. They just weren't keeping up with their breads.
Mm,
So we didn't have naan, which we all like the naan, and so but everything else was good. And so but a little woozy from eating plenty and
yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was
Uh,
pretty good. I've been seeing a lot of friends posting, about their mothers and being mothers and people who lost their mothers or never were mothers and stuff. The day is kind of fraught for a lot of people.
it is. It is. It's yeah, brings up a lot of feelings,
Mm-hmm.
positive and
Mm-hmm.
negative, you know?
Right. Well, my mom's birthday was May 8th. And so that was kind of the day that brought up all the feelings. We
Mm.
we always combined the two, of course. I was well into my teens when when I kind of got the idea that parents actually had birthdays separate from Mother's Day and Father's Day because my mother was born near Mother's Day and my dad was born near Father's Day.
Okay.
So every year it was like it was one thing. It wasn't two
It
dates.
was just this was your day. Well, that
Yeah,
stinks
and
for them.
yeah, kind of does. But but then, you know, her birthday was sometimes on Mother's Day and sometimes, the week before. But if it was a week before, then you could go out and not deal with the crowd.
Oh,
So,
sure, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
My husband made dinner tonight. Um, we have a Traeger,
I don't
if
know
you
what
know what
that
that
is.
is. It's a smoker.
Oh,
Like, you
okay.
put wood pellets in it and you can grill on
Oh,
it.
nice.
And, so he made grilled chicken and potatoes and had some fruit, so that was lovely. So what do you have for kids? I know you
Oh,
have
I have adult daughters. I have a adult daughter who's just turned 38 and my youngest is 33. And then Ira, my spouse, had a child who's also well, they're 37 now and they're married and their husband is 40. So I
okay,
have adult family.
yeah.
So, and our kid, Angel, they're gay. They live in Hawaii, which
Okay,
is really nice
yeah.
for us to be able to go visit them there, the two of them. So we are going in June, hopefully. We were going to be there now, but we decided for health reasons to postpone it, to
What a
see.
tour to visit
Yeah, it's great.
Angel, right?
It's great.
In
And
Hawaii.
in Hawaii and so they Angel and Thomas live in Honolulu. So we kind of get a city visit and a beach visit and a wilderness visit and all of that. It's great, you know. I mean, for
together.
heaven, I mean they could have moved to, Cincinnati or something. But instead they moved to Honolulu. So I think for kids that grew up in Colorado, they both grew up here in the state. His family was from Summit County. So really grew up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Where are you going to move to if you leave Colorado?
I know, there's not much that can top that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you have to move to someplace really special. And they surprised us by choosing to move to Hawaii. And it's worked out really well.
It
They're
is
happy
I mean, it's
there.
sadly very far, though. I mean, you
It's
really
very
have to
far.
make a trip.
Oh yeah, I mean anything, it's not practical at all. In terms of, family concerns or anything like that. But um um and Thomas hasn't my son-in-law, his parents haven't stayed in as much touch as we have. So if you have people that aren't willing or don't like to travel, you know, they just haven't they in the 6 years they've lived there, they've never gone there, which
Mm,
I can't understand because I go there whenever I can.
right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, can I see do you have your
Oh,
Flax
sure.
model?
I'm working on it. Yeah. I have a couple other projects I'm also doing, in particular these little vests I'm doing for my nephew's wedding.
Oh,
I
yeah, you
have,
showed me
yeah.
last week,
So
yeah.
here's where I'm at. And that stripe is not
Okay,
black. The stripe is
green.
it's a pine green.
Okay.
So um
Oh,
I made it a little bigger than the 810 because I wanted to finish, I had this idea of how much of the purple I was going to do, and I was watching an exciting TV show, so I did more of my base color kind of blue jeans before I started because I was just going like I was,
sure, yeah, you kinda
I
go on a
wasn't
roll.
looking to change a color or measure or anything like that. I was just knitting while watching as one does. And so now I'm working on the body, which is easy peasy.
Yeah, that is
And
the I mean, it's easy, but it's also kind of boring.
yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm doing these wide stripes. They're 12 row stripes, and I made them wide because I didn't want to futz with stripes. But I was a little short on the blue, so I knew I was going to have to put some color in here to make it work. So I decided to find all of my this is lamb's pride worsted, and so I had to kind of cobble together enough to get a sweater quantity of it.
Uh-huh,
And so I'm going to make the stripes, probably two sets of the purple, green, and blue stripe, and then finish it off with the blue jean blue, and then which is really a nice color, which is interestingly, some of my yarn is vintage,
okay,
and it is I it's fluffier. It's like the quality of the wool and mohair blend is a little different.
okay,
And then I have some vintage which is just wool. It's top of the wool. I have no idea how old this is. I got it at uh, a secondhand, yeah, like a craft store in Boulder that had craft supplies. So I'm really noticing that my blue jean stuff is very fluffy and my three stripes are much smoother, which kind of makes a nice texture thing, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, how about you? What have you got going on
So I
there?
am right now splitting for sleeves,
Okay, great. Oh, that's a pretty color.
and so, yeah, this sleeve I like, just as we were talking, split off,
Uh-huh.
got to work for the next one,
Do you
so
put them on threads or do you put them on cords or what do you do?
I just do waste yarn,
Yeah, that's what I did for this.
yeah. And
Um,
so I actually started out thinking I was gonna do what size? Like a 4 to 6, no, 6/8, the 6/8 size. And then I finished 1 ball of yarn and I have 7. And I was like, I finished just 1 ball and it was almost time to split the sleeves. I'm like, but I have so much more. I could make a bigger one.
yeah.
I'm gonna keep going. So it's actually gonna end up being, well, what they say extra small, but it's a 31-inch chest size.
Yeah, I haven't measured my chest here yet.
So
I'm
that's
not
what
quite
we're
far
going for.
enough
We'll see if
to
that's actually what it
I'm
is.
not quite far enough to measure. You know what I often do is I get at that point where I can measure the chest, and then I just look at how big I have to make it. It's like, oh, okay, so I need a 14-inch body or a 17-inch body, and I need the sleeves a certain length, and then I need to make them a little longer. And I can see here I'm going to be having to be careful with how wide the sleeves are.
Yeah,
They
'cause
look,
it is a little bit narrower than some patterns I've had.
yeah, it is a little narrower, so I want to make sure I get the sleeve, you
But if
know.
that's how you do it, how do you know how long to make the yoke?
Well, that's it. I mean, you have to measure the yoke. Like it has to be, I mean, this pattern is really symmetrical. I think you can only do it with a pattern where you can trust that you're getting a deep enough yoke,
Yeah,
because that's a trick. You know, you don't want a yoke too small. And this is a narrower yoke. So I looked to see how long the yoke was, and I got with my um with my collar, my yoke is 7.
yeah,
So that gives me a little bit of flexibility as to how wide it is, because it's a nice deep yoke.
yeah, so I ended up doing mine 8 with the collar, and
Great.
that gives
Yeah.
me, I don't know, I always just kind of be like, I mean, even though I don't know exactly how big the chest is gonna be at this point, I'd rather
Hmm.
the yoke be a little too long
Yeah.
than a little too short,
Oh, I
the
agree.
size
I
it ends up.
agree for sure. For sure.
So
I
that's
have a 6-inch ruler here, so I'm seeing what I have, and it is, boy, it's hard to do this with a 6-inch ruler. So that's 12. I might be at 30.
that's
The
good.
my body might be at 30, which is a good portion. It's going to come out nice. That's one thing with the top, the bottom up is that you do have that's where you get the flexibility is in the yoke, because you know
Right.
you can keep going to make it a little bigger and stuff if it's starting to look a little small. But this looks like it's going to be a nice portion. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be good. Oh, and then I have to, let's see. I was measuring when I measure across the cuff, I'm just about 7, and just 7 or a little over. So that should work well.
Yeah.
And I followed the pattern as written, other than making it a little bit bigger than, bigger and longer than they suggested for my neck cast on. So I
Yeah,
think
I think they only suggest doing like a 1-inch rib or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What did I end up with here? I have about an inch and a half.
So this isn't the pattern you usually use.
I've done it several times, yeah. But
Did you do the shoe? Go ahead.
but I do end up making the yolk a little longer usually, and
Mm-hmm.
then, I I don't, decrease as quickly
Mm-hmm. On the
on the
sleeves.
sleeves, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that we wanna make the wider sleeves going down, give room to get clothing underneath.
So what is Ira up to these
Oh,
days?
he's been doing his, he has a project that he does with the poetry of Walt Whitman, and he's been doing that, and he has been studying art and getting into, like, Renaissance art and learning about the great masters of the Renaissance and, looking at all of those paintings. We got a nice resolution TV
Okay.
and we put it in our basement and it turns. It's a kind of TV. What's it called? It has a name, a look or a anyway, it has a thing so you can turn it so it's vertical. And
Okay.
then he's doing a whole study of art, which is nice. And so sometimes I'll sit and look at art with him, but he's very interested and then he's kind of mapping out where these paintings are and what museum and kicking himself for the museums he's gone to where he walked by that stuff and
And
just
yeah, I
kind of
didn't take the
yeah,
time to
yeah, yeah. And how about JT? Um is he working in hospitals now?
Mhm. Yeah, so he works at Children's. Um, he's an RN in the, ER.
Uh-huh.
Um, up until about a year ago, a little over a year ago, he switched his role some in the ER there. They were getting ready for, they have this group that comes through, I think once every 4 years or something, and it's so they can keep their accreditation
Uh-huh.
stuff, so they come through and they do inspections and, just different checks and things, and they do it for the whole hospital. But about a little over a year and a half or a little over a year ago, they needed someone in each department to kind of head up the preparations for this inspection. So for about
Ah.
8 months or so, he he was kind of not on the floor as much, like working at the bedside as much
Mm-hmm.
as he was, kinda making preparations for this inspection.
Nice.
So which he needed at that point, he was really burnt out because this would have been,
Mm-hmm.
like, February of '22 is when he started doing this, and just working all through the pandemic and stuff, uh,
Wow, so tiring.
he needed something different for at least a time. So that was really good for him to do that, and then, like, the inspectors came. When was that? Like, October, maybe? And everything went fine and stuff. So then, since October or so, he's been doing, like, 1 day on the floor, like, doing bedside care, and then 2 days, um, kind of keeping up the other stuff that he had been doing before,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of keeping
The
on.
more bigger picture stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
so then he also last summer, he started working on his master's degree, uh,
Mm-hmm.
in nursing education.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Education.
yeah.
Ah.
So one of the things that he's done this for a few years,
Uh-huh.
is, precepting nurses, which is if they're new, like, or students or, like, new hires that are still kinda learning the ropes, they'll pair them up with nurses that have had some more experience, and so he had done that for a couple of years and loves that, the one-on-one kinda teaching,
Uh-huh.
stuff, and so, the hospital had offered to pay for a master's degree, and he was like, "Well, yeah, let's do that."
Let's do that. Yeah.
So he started doing, yeah, nursing education and, has really enjoyed that, and now, I wanna say I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, he started doing this thing they call clinical scholar, which is, um, kind of organizing and teaching when groups of nursing students come to, like, do a rotation for pediatrics, he will kind of be their mentor, teacher in a clinical setting, um, and do that. So
Oh,
he's doing that, like,
interesting.
this week he's doing that too for 2 of his shifts. So he's not doing, like, hands-on nursing care, it's more teaching the nursing students. So yeah.
I think that sounds great. Well, a thing I think about the nursing profession is that unlike a lot of professions, it really is a progression. Like you can train and build and get hi- higher levels right on up to be a doctor of nursing.
Mhm.
It's a very well planned profession, I think,
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah. And well, and I like that it's, um, he there's so many different things that you can do within it. So, like, when
Mm-hmm.
he was so, like, burnt out, overwhelmed, done with,
Mm-hmm.
the hands-on care of kids, um, he's like, This really isn't working for me anymore," but there was, like, something else to go to that's, like, adjacent, you know?
Yeah, that's
You
great.
still use
Don't
the
have to.
skills, use the education, but not be doing that exact thing anymore.
No, that seems like that's important where it
Tell
goes.
me how you, like, learned to knit, started knitting.
I'm one of those that was taught by my grandma,
Okay.
and I was probably 7 when she taught me. And I always say she must have been very patient because I'm left-handed.
Oh, I
And
didn't know this. Okay.
yeah, I'm left-handed. But of course, she taught me to knit right-handed. And I think interestingly, she was of German heritage and grew up in a town in the US. She was her parents were the immigrants, not her. But she didn't teach me continental style. She taught me throwing, English
Uh,
style. But I kind of adapted it because I was left-handed, and I'm so glad I was taught to knit right-handed though, because transcribing patterns, I talk
right.
to left-handed knitters that do it all backwards. Um, and it's just a lot of, you just have to rewrite everything.
'Cause it would be a mirror image almost, right?
Yeah,
You'd
yeah,
be
and
working
yeah,
counterclockwise.
there's people that do that, but not me. I just follow a pattern as written, but I can knit backwards, from left-handed style. So I never purl. I just knit the row back. And
Ah,
when I knit left-handed, I knit continental style. So on like say a shawl,
uh-huh.
I never turn the work. I just knit back. I don't have to turn over and purl it. And that can be very handy. It's a nice skill to have.
That would be, I mean, I don't mind purling generally, um, except for I don't know if I showed you this. Did I show you this last week?
Oh yeah, how's it coming? That is so cute.
So, I don't mind purling in general, and there's, like, a lot of short rows going on here, but you have to increase with pearls.
Oh yeah.
So, like, most sweaters or whatever, they have 4 raglan spots.
Increases, yeah.
This one only has 2, so you end up increasing every row instead of the just
Oh,
every other row.
interesting.
So that means you're increasing with pearls,
Yeah, I'm
and that's kind of, I mean, I figured it out, but it's not my fave.
yeah, I can see that. I'm not like I'm looking at this, and if I was to I can see when I try to do how I usually do, my yarn falls off my needle,
Mm,
first of all, and I'm like, how do I, okay, so I'm in there and I have to twist it,
mhm.
and then I have to purl it. So yeah, yeah.
And
I
it's
noticed, by the way, in Flax, she just has us knit front and back on each one.
I don't do that either.
And
I
I
always
was
do one.
I was I did it because I thought, well, I'm trying a pattern for the first time. I was a little put off by that. It did make kind of a pretty in its own way a pretty raglan line,
Mhm.
but I was not used to doing it that way. I
It is
had
funny how
to,
you get into doing things
yeah.
a certain way, and then you try it, something different, and your brain's like, "Well."
Yeah, and it's like, and then um I found it a little harder to keep track of. And there's a couple places where I got my knit front and back in my raglan line and made a bump where I didn't want to have a bump. But it's a fuzzy yarn. The kid is not going to care.
No.
But
No. How do you keep track of, like, increase rows and not?
oh, how do I keep track of them? Well, okay, I got a little. Usually, I keep track of them just on paper.
Okay.
You know, if I'm got a like for a raglan like this, I'll just tick it off, or I'll just knit. You know, this was a pretty much just knit till you're done type thing. So I didn't really track it. I just knew at some point I was gonna count up how many stitches I'd done and stop. But for and for decreases, I do what you're doing with the
Yeah.
little
So
with the little uh, so I can keep track of it. So I get the
so I
right
know that I
amount.
am increasing on the odd rows.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I put a marker every 4, but I'll know it's, like, 1st row.
Yeah. Yeah, I make a lot of use of those little markers. And there's another brand that I got in a kind of from an English magazine that are the ones that are more like safety pins without ends on them. I'm seeing if I have one here. I have everything but. I think what I have on this one is I have these the same guy you do. I use these all the time for everything.
Yeah, I've used them for, like, row like, beginning of row ones before this I mean, now I have
Yeah.
a circle one, but, like, I have used those if I needed them. Any kind of counting.
Yeah, I do the same. When I do lace, I use a lot of markers.
Mm,
I mean, why
repeats and
not?
stuff.
You know, unless it's a super short pattern, you know, like a three stitch yeah, 3 or 4 stitch pattern. Anything more than that, every repeat, I've got my marker there, all lined up all the way around.
I haven't done a whole lot of lace, but one that I did, I remember it was called Oaken. See if I can
Uh-huh.
find it real quick. It was I think it was also a tin can knits, um, pattern, but it was really I mean, I hadn't done a lot of lace, and then I'm doing this one, and it's increasing as you go I mean, so it's a shawl, so you're
Yeah.
increasing. Well, each repeat, you end up with an extra set of, like, the repeat of the whole thing, if that makes sense. But I didn't do
Right,
that, and
right.
I was really struggling because then you have to move all your stitch markers,
You have to move your stitch markers
and that
and
wasn't clear to me when I
yeah,
was trying
yeah, it's
it.
it can be I I did a test knit for Donna Druchanis and I did the entire uh lace pattern wrong, and we both liked how I did it, and she actually rewrote the lace pattern and named the pattern after me
No way.
with my but I just couldn't I just wasn't reading the pattern right. I was kind of reading the pattern in a way that was nice to knit, and yeah, I like lace stuff if I'm making something for myself. I especially like a top or a sweater.
Mhm.
Because I like I like a lot of negative ease, and a lace just makes a really nice light. Not for a sweater for warmth, but if I have a occasion, like I'm gonna make a sweater for this wedding, I think, a top, a linen top,
Mm.
and I'll do a lace stitch on that, and but I like it
I
as a
love it.
change.
I just did it how I wanted, and then she wrote it up. Made it for
Yeah, that was great. You can
uh,
look at it. It's called Kathy's Mitts.
I love it. Well, and what's I've done a few test knits, and I don't do them a lot because I so rarely follow the patterns exactly as
Oh
written,
yeah, you have to follow them
and you
so
have to do
exact.
that for testing because obviously they wanna,
Yeah.
a consistent product and to make sure that it's clear and all of that. But I
And you
will
have to do the gauge and the whole thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I like working with Donna. I've done a couple things with her because I feel like I'm a co-creator.
Yeah.
I did this huge shawl with her, and we kind of figured out together what the border was going to be like. And and it was just she's someone who used to live in Longmont who moved to Vermont. And
Mm,
so I actually know her face to face. And then she's a um Donna Druchanis. Her her enterprise is called Sheep to Shawl.
mm,
And and so that's fun. So we're gonna run out of time here.
yeah.
Have any of your other knitters shown up? Have they gotten back to you? And
No. No. So, had a few I mean, I had, I think, 5 or 6 people sign up to
yeah,
do it, and nobody's come, but
but they haven't like said to you, "Oh, I'm working on it," or "I'm going to." I'm not sure I'm going to be here next Sunday. I will
that's
drop
fine.
you a line about that.
That's fine.
It may be a
That's fine. My
I have
goal is to have the
plans in the
body done.
work.
My goal is to have the
Yeah,
body done, so we'll see.
yeah. I'm because it's perfect TV knitting. We're
Yeah.
watching Perry Mason right now.
Nice.
It's really dramatic. So I'll just zip along here with I'll probably get an uneven row or a stripe because I'll be like, oh my God, and suddenly it's 13 stripes instead of 12. And then I'll
That's
be like, I'm not gonna fix that. No, I will fix it
is it
because
well, my thing too is it's like when it's on a person, are you really gonna be able to tell?
yeah, I know we're supposed to do things that are like gift quality, and I actually do stuff for will aid kind of nicer than I would for gifting to friends sometime because I want it to, I, I want it to kind of be up to standard,
Right. Well,
and
and that
so
can mean different things to different
it
people,
sure
you know?
can. It can't it? Yeah.
So, I hope
Yeah.
you have a good week.
Well, this was fun.
I'm so glad to see your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, you too. You too. I was looking forward to this. So take care,
You
Callista,
too.
and
Have a good night.
hug tie.
I
Lucky
will.
to have a little. Bye bye.
Bye.